Part 20. My Love Simulation with Them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 192. After a series of conversations just now, he probably confirmed one thing. That means Nango Yuyuna is indeed his biological child. Because this conversation is all too familiar in a sense. He remained silent outside the door and listened for a while. When it was almost time, he pretended to have just arrived and gently knocked on the door. "Please come in." There was a sound in the room. After receiving the approval, Nangxiang took the initiative to open the door. On the bench behind the door, the girl with short blue hair was holding the base diagonally. As her short hair fell down, her white fingers rested on the bright bass strings. Her cold and delicate face, as if she didn't care about anyone, subconsciously raised her face. Then he showed a slightly surprised look. "Father." Nango Yuyuna stood up respectfully and nodded gently to her father, who came in. In the entire family, Nango Yuyuna is able to completely ignore her mother, who does whatever she wants. But she absolutely couldn't ignore the father in front of her. Compared to her mother, who was too liberal, she grew up with Nangxiangxi's education and had an indescribable admiration for Nangxiangxi, who was rich in knowledge and well informed. Next to her, the girl with long black hair who had been communicating just now also stood up tremblingly. "Uncle Nangxiang, this is the first time we meet. Well, I am Makino Akiko." "Hello, Kyoza." Nangxiangxi ignored the rebellious girl who was asking for money in a serious manner. He turned to look at the black-haired girl in front of him and said hello. Probably because of the simulator, he had the memory of the black-haired girl in front of him in his mind. This black-haired girl's name is Makino Akiko, and she is a member of the rock band formed by Nango Yuna. It's just, should it be said that it was a fate or just a coincidence? The character of Akiko Makino in front of me is actually a bit like Ichiri Goto's. A little afraid of strangers. But that's just a little bit. At least Goto Kazuri would not dare to go directly to a friend's house like Makino Akiko did. Nangxiang showed a clear smile to Makino Akiko. The smile on Nangxiang's handsome and elegant face. Makino Akiko suddenly felt her heart beat a little faster, lowered her head with a red face, and turned her eyes to the other side. She kept hearing Nango Yuna praise her father. But in fact, the only time they met was with her mother, a bass player who is very famous in the rock circle. Similarly, she has always been curious about what kind of person Nango was like when he was able to cultivate an outstanding girl like Nango Yuna. And when I saw, she finally understood why Nango Yuna was so good looking. With such a father, it's no wonder that Nango Yuna can fill 2 or 3 shoeboxes with love letters she receives in 1 year. Makino Akiko is quite cute. At this time, her small face is hidden under her black hair, and she has a protective desire that makes people want to protect her. Nango Yuyuna looked at her father and her friends, and couldn't help but take a step forward and asked, "Father, do you have anything to do when you come here?" "Nothing important, I just want to come and see my daughter." Nangxiangxi blinked. "Did I disturb you?" "No. No. Nothing." "Uncle Nangxiang." "Well, I actually have nothing else to do when I come here this time. I have finished what I wanted to do just now, and I am leaving now." Before Nango Yuyuna could speak, Makino Akiko next to her had already taken the initiative to speak. "Don't worry, it'll be fine if you just stay here for dinner." "Kyoza." Nangxiangxi smiled and waved his hands, trying to persuade Makino Akiko to stay. But the other party seemed to be really in a hurry. Even though Nangxiangxi repeatedly tried to persuade her to stay, Makino Akiko finally left with her guitar bag on her back. And watched Makino Kyoza leave. Nangxiang didn't hesitate, he directly pulled out a chair in the lounge and sat down, then turned to look at Nangxiang. Yuna, tea." "Yes. Father." Nango Yuyuna, who had seemed extremely powerful in front of Makino Akiko just now, lowered her head and was as obedient as a rabbit. That cold and lazy face was no longer as calm as before, and was slightly panicked. She quickly poured the tea and placed it in front of Nan Xiangxi, and then sat down in front of him obediently. Looking at her daughter's well-behaved behavior. While drinking tea in Nangxiang, I felt quite satisfied. It seems that even when I reach middle age, I still feel oppressive towards my daughter. He drank the tea, then raised his head and asked patiently, "What were you and Kyoza talking about just now?" The tone was calm, but the words he spoke made Nango Yuyuna, who was sitting upright in front of him, a little flustered. She obviously didn't expect that her father would ask such a question. Could it be that he was heard? She couldn't make up her mind, her eyes wandering, trying to read his father's expression. But in the end, she failed and gave in. "Well, ask Kyoza to lend me money." She spoke in a low voice, and the way she confessed honestly, she felt like a condemned prisoner rushing to the execution ground. "Ask Kyoza to lend you money?" Nang Xiangxi asked repeatedly. "Yeah. Yes, that, I don't know why, but as long as I ask for money, my bandmates will basically lend me money." Nang Xiangxi put down the teacup. "She is indeed my daughter." Listening to Nango Yuyuna's words, "I don't know why, but as long as I ask for money, my bandmates will basically lend me money." This sentence seems to be a matter of course. When I was in Nangxiang, I couldn't help but sigh. His daughter really looked like him when she was young, which really made his old father feel gratified. No, shame. How can you just ask your friends for money? This behavior itself is wrong. She must correct her wrong thinking. In order to prevent his daughter from becoming the kind of woman who eats women's food in the future. Nang Xiangxi raised his head and asked simply, "Is the pocket money given to you a little short recently? Do you want to ask Kyoza to borrow money?" You must know that the amount of pocket money he gives Nango Yuna every month is quite a lot. In addition, Yamada's father, that is, Nango Yuna's grandfather, would give her pocket money from time to time. Nango Yuna is basically unlikely to be short of money as a high school student. There's no that, well, there's a reason for that, father. Reason? Actually, it's like this. Nango Yuyuna saw that her father seemed to want to break the casserole and ask the truth. After hesitating for a long time, he finally told the truth. It turns out that because she has a similar personality to Ichiri Goto, but is not as lucky as Ichiri Goto, she was able to meet a group of companions who love and protect her. Makino Akiko has actually been bullied by a group of girls of the same age in school. From time to time, those people would blackmail Makino Akiko and ask for her property. As a friend of Akiko, Nango Yuyuna naturally dislikes these behaviors. So, she simply got all the money from Makino Akiko before these people asked for it, and told the girls that the money had been taken away by her. If you want to go back, just find her. When Akiko Makino is no longer bullied by the girls in the same grade, she will return all the money to Akiko Makino. These include terms such as friend fee and borrowing money. In fact, it is all a means for Nango Yuna to protect Makino Akiko. After all, if I didn't ask Kyoza for the money, those guys would have taken it away. Nang Xiangxi. That's how it turns out. Nang Xiangxi glanced at his daughter. I didn't expect that my daughter would have such a kind heart that cares about her friends. This must have been inherited from him. Very nice. Very good indeed. Nang Xiangxi felt satisfied and immediately said, "If there is such a hidden secret in this, then I will not ask about it. Yuna, if you have any difficulties, you can talk to me and your mother. Do you understand?" "Yes. I understand, thank you, father." Nango Yuna's pretty face, which had no fluctuations, now showed a slightly relieved expression after hearing Nango speak like this. Just when she was completely relieved and ready to pour a cup of tea and relax. "Since this is the reason for Kyoza's matter, then what you said before, although I don't know the reason. As long as I ask for money, my bandmates will basically lend me money. This sentence, again, what's going on? Nang Xiangxi raised his head with a smile and asked the daughter in front of him, listen to what this sentence means. It seems that besides Kaiozhe, Yuna, you also borrowed money from other members of the band. Yes. The matter of Makino Akiko can be temporarily resolved. But Akiko Makino is not the only member of the entire rock band. Nango Yuna. Nango Yuna swallowed and put down the teacup. That, father. My mother told me this. If you have no money, you can borrow money from your most trusted companion. Nang Xiangxi. When listening to his second-year high school daughter say these words, Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but rub his eyebrows as he recalled what Nang Xiang Ryo had told him, you need to educate your daughter well. Miss Liang. Sometimes, the education of your children really has to start with yourself. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu de Zi Wei. Chapter 193. Chapter 159. Miss Yamada's turn. 4,000 words. Walk out of the practice room. Nang Xiang feels refreshed. Although under the words and deeds of Nango Ryo, Nango Yuna showed signs of transforming into a shameless woman who borrowed and asked for money from the same band members. But after my own education today, presumably the other party will learn to behave better in the future. Nang Xiang felt satisfied when he recalled his daughter who had almost obeyed his words just now. As expected of him, he was a little proud. But after taking 2 steps, Nang Xiang seemed to have thought of something and stopped. Etc. Nang Xiangxi touched his chin. It seems that I want to educate my daughter so that she doesn't have any father control plot, right? Miscalculated. Nang Xiangxi blinked his eyes. He had just given Nang Xiangyuna a round of spiritual education. Now if we turn back again, the effect will definitely be greatly reduced, and it may even make the children think that he is the kind of parent who likes to preach. Never mind. Nang Xiangxi stood there and thought for a while, then continued walking back. In fact, he didn't particularly care about Nan Xiangliang's words, you really should educate your daughter. After all, the electric father complex is actually quite normal for little girls whose minds have not yet matured. Besides, it's not a bad thing to like a high-quality boy like him. Nang Xiangxi didn't want his daughter to have low standards and be bullied by some bad boys. Thinking of this, the idea of educating my daughter faded away. He simply headed straight for home. The furnishings of Nang Xiang's house are very much like a luxury house should be. Spiral staircase with handrails. Some places also adopt the design of large jumps on the second floor, giving the entire room a three-dimensional feel. Nango Ryo was currently sitting on the sofa, reading a pop music magazine. The above is probably the news about a certain band's recent popularity, as well as some recommendations for interesting recent songs. When he saw Nang Xiang, he came over and sat down. Nang Xiang Ryo put down the music magazine in his hand, stretched out his white feet elegantly and lazily, and touched his knees slightly. Then he raised his delicate, cold, and emotionless face. How about it? I told her. Nang Xiangxi naturally took Nang Xiang Ryo's calf and put it on his knee. He stretched out his hand to press it and answered casually. Maybe it's because he was pampered since childhood. Time has left no trace at all on Nan Xiangliang's face and figure. She's still the same as she was in high school. She has a neutral and delicate face, energetic and lazy amber eyes, short blue hair that is casually tied back on her head, and the tear mole on her eyelids, which also gives her an indescribable charm. Nang Xiangxi looked at her beautiful and sexy collarbone, and seemed to suddenly be interested. He gently bit her fair earlobe and said, Ryo, don't you give me some reward? Well. The feeling coming from his earlobe made Nan Xiangliang raise his head, reward. On the face that had always been expressionless, A beautiful red cloud appeared like autumn leaves. She seemed to realize what was going to happen next and stood up to leave. But before she could escape, Nan Xiangxi hugged her body. It was like falling into a hunter's trap. Even though Nang Xiang didn't use much strength, she still couldn't escape. There seemed to be a hint of panic on Nang Xiangliang's expressionless face. She tried to speak as calmly as possible. The child is still here. Yuna just said that she will write new songs in the practice room. I'll call her during dinner. Nang Xiang blew slightly in her ear. This is Nang Xiangliang's sensitive place and can't stand the stimulation. The ruddy color rises to the earlobes. Nang Xiangxi hugged Nang Xiangliang's delicate and mature body. Please stay with me this afternoon, Liang. Perhaps because he accepted what was about to happen, Nang Xiangliang regained his composure, and his eyes seemed to be filled with water, looking at her husband with watery eyes. She gently held Nan Xiangxi's palm. A small courtyard in Nangxiang in the afternoon. The weather is just right. The silhouettes of leaves in the courtyard filter through the sunlight and fall into the room, making it appear peaceful. Occasionally, the frightened deer set up in the courtyard would make the sound of bamboo joints banging. When Nango walked out of the master bedroom, he went to the practice room to tell Nango Yuna that he and Nango Ryo were not feeling well tonight, so they would not cook and the family would go out to eat. Nango Yuna has always been very obedient to Nango Shi's words. She immediately agreed to Nan Xiangxi's suggestion, walked out of the practice room with the unwritten music, and followed her parents to the restaurant outside. Just when walking on the road, she clearly found that her mother's usually expressionless and cold face had a rosy look that she had never seen before. Although it was a little strange, she didn't say anything and just talked and laughed with her parents. In the restaurant, Nan Xiangxi quietly held his wife's hand and turned his head to talk to his mature daughter, enjoying every minute of the moment. Occasionally look at his wife with gentle eyes. She looked at her and turned her head to the other side in embarrassment. Nan Xiang smiled. Time passed by quietly. The sun was about to set, completely sinking into the deep night. After returning home and being affectionate with his wife for a long time, Nan Xiangxi closed his eyes and lay on the bed in the master bedroom. Personal simulation ends. There was a prompting voice in his ears, and Nang Xiang opened his eyes. 1,200 simulation points only provide 12 hours of personal simulation time. MS Simulator, you are too stingy. The first thing Nang Xiang did when he woke up was to stretch out his finger and poke the light blue window of the simulator. But obviously, the simulator will not send him back into the in-person simulation just because of his actions. But on the whole, it's quite satisfying. Nang Xiang stretched and felt refreshed. Yes. He felt very satisfied. I saw what Miss Liang looked like after marriage. He also saw what his and Miss Liang's daughter would look like when she grew up. He even spent a lot of time with Miss Liang. I have to say that everything simulated in person is so real. Whether it was his daughter's expression or the feeling when he was in contact with Nang Xiangliang's skin, they all made him feel that he was out of touch with reality. This is only 12 hours. If it had been 24 hours, maybe it would have been completely absorbed. Nang Xiangxi shook his head. The simulator probably had this in mind, so it was set to only have 12 hours for the personal simulation. Similarly, he had to say that Miss Liang, with her free-spirited and self-centered personality, could actually cooperate with him in the room. Can't people be judged by their appearance? The colder the person looks, you will be able to know how passionate the other person is after truly understanding the state behind them. Nang Xiangxi clicked his tongue, sat up from the bed with satisfaction, and turned to look at the simulator page. In addition to lamenting the things he personally simulated, he also wanted to confirm other things. Under his gaze, the simulation page has changed. Due to changes in the simulation object in the future, the simulation process has changed and the score has changed. Please confirm. Nang Xiangxi reached out and clicked to confirm. Under his eyes, the simulation page began to change again. System score, 94 points. You have achieved a happy ending. System evaluation, love never ends, love never regrets. Your acquaintance was an accident, but accidents can always bring about opportunities that neither you nor she could have imagined. In the past, she felt sorry for the death of her father, but your love affair with her ended with regret. But there may be a real possibility in the world. This time, you fell in love with her just like the last time, and you stopped the tragedy at its source before it happened. You have no regrets in your love affair with her. A long period of time cannot erase everything between you and her, nor can it erase your memory in her heart. Sure enough, things have changed. Looking at the page in front of him, Nang Xiangxi raised his eyebrows and murmured to himself. Yes. Before the simulation, the system reminded him that this was a slightly changed life. And that change can be understood just by looking at the final introduction of the simulation. Yamada's father did not die of illness, and his previously regrettable relationship with Yamada Ryo was finally fulfilled. It's saved. Nang Xiang was contented. Since Ms. Yamada only had one simulation opportunity, he has always been worried about the regrettable result of 89 points, 1 point short of a happy ending. But now, after seeing the result, the thorn in Nang Xiangxi's heart was finally pulled out. The result of this personal simulation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu de Ziwei. Chapter 194. He was satisfied. And you can actually get a high score of 94 points. When Nang Xiang stared at the system score, he was actually quite surprised. 94 points. This is a high score, higher than the 93 points simulated by Nishiki Chisuke and Inu Takina. A bit exaggerated? Miss Liang? Nan Xiang held up his face. You must know that he only simulated Ryo Yamada twice in total. Once is through the character card. The other time is this in-person simulation. The result is a high score of 94 points. This progress is really scary. 94 points, in other words, is it possible that Ms. Yamada has the same memories in her head as Ichiri now? When Nang Xiang turned off the simulated page, he couldn't help but think. Let's analyze the current situation. There shouldn't be that much difference between personal simulation and ordinary simulation. After all, even the results of the last simulation have changed. This means that personal simulations have a higher priority than ordinary simulations. Then it is natural that Ms. Yamada will have more memories of happy endings. But no matter what, it has nothing to do with who I am now. Nang Xiangxi stretched hard again. Yes. To put it bluntly, memory in simulation is just memory in simulation. It doesn't have much to do with him now. And he didn't think anything unexpected could happen this night. Nang Xiangxi took the mobile phone that was placed next to the bed, turned on the screen, and glanced at the time on it. It's about 9 o'clock in the evening. Although it's a little early, I've been busy with various things these past few days. Nang Xiang yawned. Aside from personal simulations, these days he is running around and busy with various things. There are still troublesome matters waiting for him at the Oka festival. It's better to go to bed early. At least I'll have some energy tomorrow. Think so? Nang Xiangxi simply lay back on the bed and was about to close his eyes. Then, ding dong. A clear ringing sound suddenly came from outside the door. Nan Xiang opened his eyes when he was disturbed. There's something strange about him. It was already 9 o'clock in the evening. Who rang his doorbell outside? When I came to Nang Xiang, I immediately thought of the landlord. But he had already paid the deposit for this month, and the other party had no other reason to come to him. So who is outside the door? Nang Xiangxi scratched his hair and thought with some wickedness. It can't be Miss Liang, right? Probably because the influence of the personal simulation was still there, he actually thought of Yamada Ryo at this time. But just thinking about it makes me realize that it's unlikely. That was Miss Liang who found it very troublesome to move. How could he come to his rental house so late at night? The doorbell is still ringing. Considering that if you don't open the door, you might disturb the residents. Nang Xiangxi got up, turned on the light and walked to the entrance. Then he opened the door and said with a smile. Which one? I. Simple conversation, simple response. But Nang Xiangxi's fingers that opened the door were slightly stagnant. Looking at the figure outside the door, Nang Xiangxi blinked in surprise at first, and then couldn't help but look at the other person one more time. Amber eyes, silver earrings shining under the light, hidden under the short blue hair, cold and elegant, a beautiful face that everyone would take a second look at. And the mole on the corner of the eye that is very attractive no matter how it changes. Cold. Nang Xiangxi made a sound in astonishment. Yes. Just now. Ryo Yamada is here. And looking at Ryo Yamada in front of him. Only then did Nan Xiang realize that what he had thought before, was actually entirely based on his own subjective thoughts. Miss Liang is indeed afraid of trouble, and she is indeed lazy and does not like troublesome things. But precisely because she is Miss Liang. Apart from her lazy character, there is also the character of being pampered by his parents to the point of being too liberal and self-centered. Late at night, a little girl came to a boy's home. Can an ordinary girl do such a thing? Among the girls I met in Nangxiang, probably only Nishiki Kishu had the courage. And except for Nishiki Kishu, probably the one in front of me. Ryo, what are you doing? Nangxiang looked at Ryo Yamada, who was wrapped in a black knitted long-sleeved sweater in front of him, and couldn't help but ask. Huh? What's the problem? Yamada Ryo's amber eyes, which were as emotionless as inorganic matter, blinked. I thought it was time, so I came. Yes. She missed Nangxiang. So I came over. Is there any problem with this? Chapter 160. The Nangxiang time she cares about, 4,000 words. The rental house in Nangxiang was very small. It's so small that when Ryo Yamada is just wearing black socks and wants to stretch his legs, he will frown, it's too narrow. Who knew you would suddenly come here at night? It was strange when I was in Nangxiang. This late at night, a man sneaked into the boys' rental house. Stop talking about girls. Even if Ryo Yamada is a boy, some people might think it's weird, right? Ms. Yamada is as free as ever. And it's also the kind of freedom that goes too far. Nangxiang poured a glass of water for Yamada Ryo. I want to drink pronto coffee. No money. I gave she money, and she bought it back for me. Ryo Yamada took out his wallet. How far do you think it is from the nearest coffee shop? It's almost a kilometer, right? Isn't this just a matter of money? Nan Xiangxi knocked Yamada Ryo hard on the head, wondering what on earth this woman was thinking. You can do it, don't deny yourself. This is not a matter of denying yourself or not, but you want me to go to a coffee shop 1 kilometer away in the cold wind in autumn weather and bring you a cup of coffee. Problem. Nangxiang was not like Miss Yamada's parents who pampered Yamada Ryo at all, there is only running water. Speaking of which, Ms. Yamada was really spoiled by her parents. Nangxiang still remembered in the simulated memory that Ryo Yamada just had a common cold, and her parents would go to great lengths to send her to famous doctors and use various advanced medical equipment for examination. This is probably why she has such an unfettered and free personality. But who knew that after hearing Nang Xiangxi's words, Yamada Ryo actually stood up directly. Then I'll go alone. She stood up, put on her loafers, and asked sideways. What do you want to drink? I'll bring it over by the way. Nangxiangshi. Miss Yamada, do you think there are no bad people in this world? Even if you go out once in the evening, you want to go out a second time? Seeing Ryo Yamada packed up and ready to go, Nangxiang also had no choice but to put on his outer coat. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu De Zi Wei. Chapter 195. What are you doing? Out with you. Nangxiang patted Yamada Ryo's head hard. He found that sometimes he really couldn't do anything with this woman. Walk out of the rental house and turn to the nearest coffee shop. This distance is actually not that far away. In about 10 minutes, Nangxiangshi led Ryo Yamada to the nearest coffee shop. Only. It's closed. Looking at the coffee shop with the close sign in front of him, Nangxiangshi explained, there's nothing we can do about it. After all, it's already past 9 o'clock. It's not like Tokyo doesn't have all-night cafes. It's just that they are all in downtown areas like Ginza and Shinjuku. It has nothing to do with the residential area of Meguro Ward where he lives. This kind of cafe in a residential area is similar to the Lico Rico. It closes from 7 to 8 o'clock in the evening and usually relies on regular customers to stay open. There is a self-service coffee shop further ahead. The handmade coffee may not be as delicious as the coffee shop. Do you want to check it out? Mentioned it when I was in Nangxiang. Anyway, they are already out. It's better to take 2 steps forward. Yamada Ryo nodded, took the initiative to step forward, and stuffed one of his hands into the big pocket of Nangxiangshi's coat. Cold. Nangxiang turned his head slightly. A little cold. Yamada coolly breathed in the heat. Nangxiangshi did not continue to speak and let her put her hands in her pockets. Yamada Ryo seemed to be aware of it when he looked at Nangxiang. I don't know if it was her imagination, but as she walked forward, Nangxiangshi seemed to be getting closer to her. Yamada Ryo blinked his eyes and did not continue to speak, but just followed Nangxiangshi forward. She somewhat enjoyed her current state. There are self-service cafes in Tokyo, Japan. There are also 24-hour outlets open. The general process is to select the cup size you need and then put money into the machine. Then the corresponding model paper cup will be spit out from it. Then take the paper cup to the self-service coffee machine, place it in front of the scanning tray of the coffee machine, and coffee will naturally flow out of the nozzle. This process is too novel for Ms. Yamada, who usually only makes coffee with her hands. After all, self-service coffee is just a drink for ordinary people, and a medium cup costs less than 500 or 600 yen. It's completely different from the small cup of hand-brewed coffee in a typical coffee shop. Yamada Ryo also blinked and asked Nangxiang many questions about the self-service coffee machine. After the two of them finished receiving their coffee, Nangxiang looked at the time. It's already past 10 o'clock at night. All the miscellaneous things are crowded together. Nangxiangshi naturally stood against the transparent glass window of the self-service cafe. After taking a sip, he asked, "So, why did you come to my house suddenly at night?" Ryo Yamada. Miss Yamada, who was squatting on the edge of the steps, did not answer in a hurry. She just held the paper self-service coffee cup with both hands and took a sip while watching the smoke rise from the coffee cup and linger up. Under the light of the self-service coffee shop, the edges of her fair face were slightly transparent, and she was as beautiful as a goddess in the dark. After a while, she spoke, "I had a dream." Dream. Miss Yamada said and exhaled hot breath. "I dreamed about you. I suddenly wanted to see you, so I came here." Nangxiangshi. This reason is too free. Yes. If this can be regarded as a reason, then Ms. Yamada is too free. Just because you had a dream about him, you went out to see him? This is really. What time do you think it is now? Ryo. Nangxiangshi sighed and asked. 10:23 p.m. I'm not asking you for the time, Ryo. Nangxiangshi couldn't help but hold his forehead. Miss Yamada sometimes really has trouble understanding what others are saying. I mean, wouldn't your parents be worried about going out so late? I didn't tell them I was out, please praise me, she. When she said this, Ryo Yamada's expressionless face seemed a little proud, and she even puffed up her chest. Nangxiangshi. Do I praise you? Do you still want me to praise you? I can't wait to rub your face into pieces now. Going out at night. Parents haven't been notified yet. Contact your parents immediately after you return. Nangxiang made a prompt decision. Joke. Back then Akane Shinjo was actually doing something special. Ms. Yamada is different. Her parents really cared about her as an only daughter. If he saw her disappear from her room at night, it would be a disaster given the character of Yamada's parents. Maybe the police will be called immediately. Nangxiangshi didn't want to be accused of kidnapping a female high school student for no reason. Speaking of which, I actually want to stay overnight. Please show me your pajamas later. Nangxiangshi. He and Yamada Ryo are the standard examples of each talking about his own affairs. However, when he called Yamada's parents to explain the matter, he did not follow Miss Yamada's wishes. Throwing the clean coffee cup into the trash can set up nearby, Nangxiangshi then said simply, "Contact your parents immediately when you get back, otherwise I will send you home directly." Does this mean that she wants to stay at my house? There happen to be 2 guest rooms. Yamada Ryo's cold face raised, his amber eyes shining brightly as he looked at Nangxiang. Nangxiangshi. He really didn't expect Ryo Yamada to come up with this aspect. Nangxiangshi shook his head speechlessly, simply ignored her and walked back in the direction. Seeing this, Yamada Ryo drank all the coffee in his hand, and then followed Nangxiang's footsteps. This time, she naturally stuffed her palm into Nangxiangshi's pocket. When Nangxiang saw this, he didn't say much. The two of them headed towards the rental house. Because I drank coffee on the way, I was delayed a little longer. When the two returned home, it was almost 10:41. Under the strong request of Nangxiangshi, Yamada Ryo, who had already bought pajamas at a convenience store, called his parents under his gaze. Nangxiangshi looked at Yamada Ryo's action of dialing the phone and nodded. In this way, we can finally send the hot potato of Miss Yamada home as soon as possible. After all, it was late at night. It is inappropriate for a girl to stay at his house for no other reason, no matter what the reason is. No matter how much Yamada's parents indulge their daughter, they probably won't allow this to happen, right? Nangxiangshi and Yamada Ryo waited for a while, about half a minute. Yamada's father on the other end of the phone answered the call. Then came the conversation between Yamada Ryo and his father on the other end of the phone. "Hello? Dad? I suddenly remembered something. I want to spend the night at my classmate's house today. Well, I won't cause any trouble to my classmates. That's all. Do. The phone hangs up. Okay, she. When Yamada Ryo turned his face and looked at Nangxiang with his inorganic amber eyes, he reminded him. Is this the end? Nangxiang, who had been watching Miss Yamada on the phone, had a look of disbelief on his face. No. Miss Yamada. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 196. Even if you are so free, are your parents also so free? He really couldn't hold himself tight at this moment. After he repeatedly checked the phone number and confirmed that it was the phone number of Miss Yamada's parents, he took a sip to regain his mood. He finally understood. The reason why Miss Yamada is truly free is related to her family environment. To put it bluntly, Yamada's parents are too worried about their daughter, right? Can you agree to this directly? When Nang Xiang looked at Miss Yamada stretching her thighs wrapped in black stockings, he was a little hesitant about whether to drive her home directly. But Ms. Yamada seemed to have read Nang Xiangxi's thoughts at this time, and suddenly said, "It's too late to catch the last train." She was undoubtedly telling the truth. The last train in Tokyo was at 11 o'clock, and it was already 10:48, almost 11 o'clock. From here we head to the station. No matter what, we probably won't be able to catch the last train. Nang Xiang had serious doubts. Did Ryo Yamada have any premeditation for this situation? That's why I go out to drink coffee late at night and buy pajamas on the road, which is a waste of time. There are also taxis. Nang Xiang was still a little reluctant to give up. I didn't bring that much money when I went out this time. Nang Xiang was a little helpless. But judging from the current situation, Yamada Ryo really had only one option: to stay at his place. You can't kick her out as a little girl at night. He shook his head with a slight headache and stood up. What are you going to do? Help you prepare your bedding. Is it okay to sleep together? Would you like to hear what you are saying? Miss Yamada. I'm just kidding. Yamada Ryo emphasized without expression. Nang Xiang glanced sideways at Yamada Ryo, and regardless of whether she was joking or not, he took out the extra set of quilts from the cupboard. This set is exactly the bedding that Akane Shinjo slept on last time. There were two sets of bedding in Nang Xiang. On weekdays, one set was taken out to dry when the weather was nice, and the other set was laid directly on the bed. But recently, never mind. Nang Xiangxi was too lazy to continue thinking about it. Now he just wants to put Miss Yamada in place quickly and then lie down to rest. Following his instructions, Yamada Ryo went to the bathroom to wash up. After all, he had just drank coffee. Then she sat down, hugged her legs, and stared at Nang Xiangxi's back. Nang Xiangxi was carefully smoothing out the folded corners on the quilt bit by bit. He is serious about what he does. There seems to be a sense of concentration. When you encounter trouble, it looks good when your eyebrows are furrowed. It also looks good when your eyebrows relax when you solve a troublesome problem. Yamada Ryo tilted his head. She thought about her dream at home today. It was an extremely real dream. In the dream, she and Nang Xiangxi got married and had children, and the dream she had been chasing was completely successful. Everything seemed so happy and perfect. And that's when it happened. She suddenly felt like she wanted to see Nang Xiang. I want to see if he is exactly the same as in my real dream, the Nang Xiang in my memory. So she went out and came to Nang Xiangxi's home. And at this time, when looking at Nang Xiang, he reached out his hand and carefully smoothed the corners of the quilt. Ryo Yamada finally confirmed. This is the Nang Xiang time in her dream. It was Nang Xiangxi who had been accompanying her in her dreams. But the things in dreams are just pure false things. A faint smile appeared on Yamada Ryo's expressionless face, which he held with his palms. What interested her was not the Nang Xiang time in her dream. But it was the Nang Xiang time that existed in this place. That's all. Chapter 161. Their floating thoughts, 4,000 words. Very well. That's it for today. Nang Xiangxi's calm voice came. This made Rika Takarada, who was holding her script book, breathe a sigh of relief. Rehearsals for Monsters Within have been going on for more than a week. This has been over a week. She also put a lot of effort into the script book. However, strictly speaking, she doesn't actually have any scenes with other people. After all, in The Monster of the Heart, she is the only one responsible for the role of the human side, and the other General Utsumi is responsible for playing the role of the then ASIS monster. The monster goes on stage and moans a few words in conjunction with the sound effects, then plays some recorded audio, and then destroys the arranged model. That's enough. Compared with the lines, the monster's body movements are more important to express. Therefore, in fact, most of the time in Monster in the Heart, she introduces herself, or carries out inner monologues with Nang Xiang's phone narration or background narration. And at this time, the rehearsals for Monster in the Heart have already gone through 2 rounds, including rehearsals. In terms of preparation, it can be considered flawless. At least Rika Takarada feels that when it's her turn to play, it shouldn't be that big of a problem. So, although the Monster in the Heart has been solved, then there is only one thing left. Rika Takarada pretended to lower her body and put the script book into her shoulder bag. While taking advantage of her peripheral vision, she secretly looked at the young man who was scribbling on the script book with a red pen. The young man has messy black hair, red lips and white teeth, and clear and calm eyes. When communicating with Nei Haijiang around him, his voice is calm and clear, as if nothing in this world can stop him. Nangxiang time. Baoda Rika muttered Nangxiang's name in her heart, and her beautiful sapphire blue eyes paused. In his mind, he also recalled the scene where Akane Shinjo communicated with him in her family's thrift store and coffee and breakfast shop long ago. Please, Rika. No matter what, please bring me and Toki-kun together. That was the first time that Shinjo Akane, who was perfect no matter how she treated anyone, and who seemed to be unable to see any shortcomings, bowed to herself. At that time, Takarada Rika's attitude was also very simple. Her white fingers holding the coffee cup trembled, obviously she was in disbelief at this sudden and shocking fact. Do you like Nangxiang-san? The voice was full of surprise. Because Rika Takarada had never thought that Akane Shinjo, who always treated others with all-round kindness and beauty from all directions, would actually ask for help. Asking herself to help her get a boy, no, using the word get to describe it is too straightforward. At that time, Rika Takarada was still thinking about pursuit. But what she didn't expect was that Akane Shinjo was much more straightforward than she was. That's right, when I fell in love with Nangxiang, I just wanted Rika to help me get this man Toki-kun. Cough 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 cough. It was directly because of these words that Baoda Rika caused water to enter her trachea and coughed violently. After coughing, she raised her head in disbelief. Akane, do you like Nangxiang-san so much? Well, that's why I asked Rika to help me. Akane Shinjo spoke with a smile on her face and still a perfect smile. But her attitude made Rika Takarada feel a bit at a loss. Because logically speaking, since Akane has someone you like, then just let yourself go and pursue it, right? While putting the water glass next to her, she said incomprehensively, with Yi Qian's popularity in school, shouldn't she be able to get a boy she likes, and become a lover soon? Yes. Akane Shinjo's popularity in school cannot be underestimated. Just from the love letters in the shoebox, I estimate that I have to clear out a dozen of them every month. Her sunny appearance and personality have touched the hearts of many boys. From Rika Takarada's point of view, with Akane Shinjo's emotional quotient and IQ, shouldn't she be able to pursue the person she likes simply? So does a girl like her, who has never been in a relationship, need to point her fingers? But, oh, Rika, you don't understand. Shijun is different from those boys who are easy to deal with. When Akane Shinjo said this, Baijing held her cheeks with her palms, and a smile unconsciously appeared on her lips. That was the smile from the heart that attracted Rika Takarada. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 197. My childhood friend, actually smiled like that. Rika Takarada's eyes were attracted to her, and then she fell silent. Since that day, until today, Rika Takarada has been observing Nangxiang. I want to see if he is really a special boy like Akane Shinjo said. I want to recognize Nang Xiangxi with my own eyes. For this reason, she made a special trip to ask her other friends about Nang Xiang. Naturally, it is not something that is widely known to the public, such as being number one in the national simulation test. But there are more things hidden behind Nang Xiangxi. And the more she inquired, the more surprised she became. I like reading very much. Ranked first in grade since entering school. He came to Oka High School alone from a remote place like Akita Prefecture, and it is said that he still lives alone now. He is also mature and steady in his work and seldom communicates with others, but he can listen to what others say. A diligent study monster, Akane Shinjo's grades have been steadily maintained since she entered school, and she has no problem being independent even if she lives alone. This is indeed different from the impetuous boys at this stage of high school. And these days I am collaborating with Nan Xiang on Monster in the Heart. Rika Takarada also noticed that Nang Xiang considered issues more comprehensively than boys of the same age. And he is basically indifferent to Shinjo Akane's verbal teasing from time to time, and there is no sign that he will be flirtatious in the future. No wonder Akane is interested in him. He has good academic performance and is good looking. It is said that he has a fan group in the school, and his personality is also very tough. See here. Even Rika Takarada had to think that letting Akane Shinjo and Nango Toki be together might be a very good choice. So when Nang Xiang announced that it was over for today, Takarada Rika finally spoke. Nang Xiang-san, there are some things I want to discuss with you. Huh? What's the problem? Bayota-san. Nan Xiang stopped his red pen and raised his head to ask. It's really rare for Rika Takarada to take the initiative to ask questions. You must know that apart from discussing things about the script, this reserved girl rarely chats with herself. On the contrary, Ms. Shinjo has been chasing him hard these days and often invites him to her home to watch Takyozatsu DVDs. That's it, the Oka festival starts tomorrow. Don't we need to prepare props and equipment for the scenery starting in the morning? That's what happened. Nan Xiangxi put down his pen and looked at her with strange eyes. So what happened? Takarada Rika. He looked at Akane Shinjo, who was secretly winking at him and smiling evilly, and then looked at Nang Xiangxi, who raised his head in front of him, his eyes as pure as a lamb's. Rika Takarada felt an inexplicable feeling of guilt at this moment. But, this is Akane's request to me. She could only apologize to Nang Xiang in a low voice, and then coughed lightly. So I was thinking, Nang Xiang-san, could you come here to pick up Akane and I tomorrow, because there are a lot of equipment and props that need to be moved. Under her gaze, Nan Xiang fell into thinking after hearing these words. What's wrong? For the first time, Rika Takarada was a little nervous when she became the wingman to arrange a relationship between her friends. Could it be that Nan Xiang discovered something was wrong? She couldn't help but think. Then I heard Nan Xiangxi's voice, okay. No problem. It doesn't conflict with my schedule in the morning. It turns out I was thinking about scheduling things. Takarada Rika breathed a sigh of relief, and then nodded vigorously. Well, I'll leave it to you then, Nang Xiang-san. It's just a small thing. There are just a lot of equipment. The large LCD screen rented by Akane Shinjo at a large price, the monster leather case, the city model scaled to a specific ratio, these all need to be arranged in advance, and naturally it is impossible for Akane Shinjo and Rika Takarada to move them all. Nan Xiangxi stood up and glanced at Bayata Rika thoughtfully, but he didn't pay too much attention to the change in the other person's expression. The reason is simple. He has been exhausted from working on various things recently. One moment I was busy revising the lines for Oka Matsuri's The Monster in the Heart, and the next moment I was busy tutoring the little girls who ended the band. Now he has to go to the part-time chef of Rico Rico, and now he has to deal with Yamada Ryo and Nishiki Kishu who come to his door from time to time. The mobility of these two people is too terrible in every sense. Busy. At the end of the day, apart from studying, there is no time to relax and rest at all. Even the schedule on Saturday and Sunday is very packed. I was already dizzy. How could he still be in the mood to care about Bao Duohua's little expression changes at this time? Even Nang Xiangxi wanted to ask the simulator directly if there was a prop that could split him in two. But it's okay. Tomorrow is the Oka festival. These days have been busy and busy, to put it bluntly, preparations for the Oka festival. Once the Oka festival begins, these troublesome things will probably be far away from him. He briefly communicated with Rika Takarada and Akane Shinjo for a while, then turned and left. Next, I have to go to Fangxing to make up for classes. And looking at Nang Xiang, the figure turned and left. Shinjo Akane, who had been silent until now, spoke, and Akane looked over with red eyes. Rika. Rika Takarada looked subconsciously and saw Akane Shinjo walking over simply. The next moment, hug him directly. Thank you. I will work hard. I will definitely live up to your help. Akane Shinjo stretched out her hands and hugged Rika Takarada tightly, making a serious promise. Yes. With Rika Takarada's assist, she will definitely try her best this time. Akane. An indistinct voice came, and at the same time, Rika Takarada made some struggling movements. What's wrong? Shinjo Akane spoke a little strangely. Quick, let go. Breathe, I can't breathe. No. I can't do it anymore. Rika Takarada, whose face was completely buried in Akane Shinjo's plump career line, struggled all over and sent out a distress signal that she was about to suffer from hypoxia. Shinjo Akane. Well, it's improved. Looking through the results of the test paper in his hand, Nang Xiang nodded with satisfaction to Hikaru Itaki and Ikuyo Kida. Just follow these steps to tutor, Hongxia-san, Kida-san, you two should make great progress next time. He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by a dull voice next to him. Really? Then praise me. She. Nang Xiang turned his head expressionlessly and looked at Yamada Ryo, who was also staring at him with his big eyes expressionlessly. Then, without hesitation, he reached out his hand and pulled Yamada Ryo's soft cheek toward his face. As he pulled, he spoke with gritted teeth. After half a month of tutoring, your grades haven't changed at all. Miss Yamada. How can a person like you who stick to your heart have the nerve to let me praise you? It hurts. It hurts so much. You know the pain. I thought a shameless girl like you didn't know the pain. Nang Xiang took a deep breath and glared hard at Yamada Ryo. But isn't keeping true to one's heart a compliment? Yamada Ryo rubbed his red cheeks, frowned his beautiful eyebrows, lowered his head and thought carefully for a while, rounding it up, this is a good time to praise me, right? Are you rounding a little too much? Nan Xiangxi twitched the corner of his mouth, directly indicating that he was too lazy to care about Miss Yamada. Although she has been tutoring for half a month, Ms. Yamada's performance has not improved as expected. But this was also what Nang Xiang expected. Considering Ms. Yamada's mind, it is still somewhat difficult for her to gradually adapt to the rhythm. As for the other side, Nang Xiangxi turned to look at Godu Kazuri, who was so guilty that he didn't even dare to raise his head. He simply reached out and touched her long pink hair, and comforted her, you don't have to think so much. Although you are almost the same as Liang, I can see that you are working hard. You are stupid and stupid it's not your fault, you can succeed as long as you work hard, try your best next time. Godu Kazuri. Feeling the tenderness in Nang Xiangxi's words, she just felt like her tears were about to flow out. It was obvious that she was comforting himself. But why does the frustration inside my heart increase instead of decreasing? No, but now is not the time to worry about such problems. Godu Kazuri blinked at Kida Ikuyo. but Kita Ikusuro understood it heart and soul. She showed a cute smile and said, "Speaking of which, Nangxiang Senpai, tomorrow is the Oka festival. Do you have time in the morning?" "Yes." "For Nango Toki and Godu-san." As the sunshine person who ends the band, she must take the initiative at this time. Chapter 162. Chaos is coming. 4,100 words. Nango Senpai, tomorrow is the Oka festival. Speaking of which, are you free tomorrow morning? My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi Iway. Chapter 198. Tomorrow morning. Listening to Kita Ikuyo's words, Nangxiang couldn't help but glance at him. Why is it agreed tomorrow morning? As mentioned before, Akane Shinjo and Rika Takarada will still have equipment that they need to help carry tomorrow morning, and it is really difficult to squeeze out time at this time. Just when Nangxiang was thinking about how to refuse, Kita Ikuyo was close again, and the aura of her sunny character seemed to be taking effect at this time, and her yellow-green eyes seemed to be shining brightly. Because Godu-san and I are students at Oka High School, we have to carry equipment from the Stars Exhibition Hall tomorrow morning. We will arrive at school around 7 o'clock in the morning, but there are too many effects equipment. It's just too much for Godu-san and I to handle it. Can't you let Ichiki-san and Ryo help? Nangxiang glanced at Ijishi Hungzia and Yamada Ryo, who tilted their heads to one side out of fear of trouble, and asked. Well, I'm so sorry. Ujizi Hungzia was still as gentle and considerate as ever. When she saw Nangxiang, she looked at her with a guilty expression on her face. After all, Ryo and I are not students of Oka High School. At 7:30, the Oka festival has not started yet, and Oka High School is not open to the public for the time being. The Oka festival officially opens at 8 o'clock in the morning, and only after this time are outsiders allowed to visit the school. Even if Yamada Ryo and Ichiki Hikaru wanted to help, they couldn't get into Oka High School. That's right. Although there is also the option of letting Yamada Ryo and Ichiki Hikaru help deliver it to the school gate. But the Oka festival starts at 8 o'clock after all. You can't let two people wander around outside the school for an hour, right? At 7 o'clock, there should be no problem. Akane Shinjo's equipment has already been placed in the activity room, and she only needs to pick it up and transport it to the gymnasium. Moreover, the time agreed upon with Akane Shinjo in Nango also passed around 8 o'clock. This way it won't be a problem at all. Think of this. Nango simply nodded to Kita Ikuyo, then, I'll come to Starry at about 6:30, and then we'll move the effects pedals and speakers to Oka High School together. Is that okay? Because there is a trolley, it is not particularly tiring for three people to share the load. No problem. But what Nango didn't expect was that before Ikuyo Kita could speak, Ichiri Goto next to him suddenly took the initiative to speak. Then, he seemed to realize that his sudden interruption was inappropriate. Goto Ichiri hurriedly covered his mouth and lowered his little head. Nangxiang turned his gaze to Goto Ichisato, who suddenly spoke just now, feeling a little surprised in his heart. He discovered this as he was already very sensitive to other people's emotional changes. Goto Ichiri's character has really changed a lot recently. Compared to the time when I was so timid and didn't dare to speak, now I will suddenly say something in a conversation with others. Nangxiang, she was quite concerned about this, and was even a little satisfied. He felt like his daughter had finally grown up. But just feeling doesn't count. Nangxiang thought for a while and decided to use the data detector he had kept. I remember that the last time I used it, I was very confused because Miss Shinjo was inexplicably hostile to me, so I used it. The main reason is that this thing has a number of uses. Regardless of the number of times it has been used before, there are about 5 opportunities left, which forced Nangxiang to use it sparingly until today. Think of this time. Nangxiang simply took a data detector at Goto Ichiri. Then, under his gaze, Goto Kazuri's status data floated in sight. Name, Ichisato Goto. Appearance, 8, 9, Sports, 4, Academic Ability, 4, Specialties, Inferiority LV3, 2, Social Anxiety LV2, Learning LV1, Guitar LV3, 4. Current impression of the host, deeply attracted, very concerned, full of longing, and in love. System evaluation, she pays special attention to you. She can no longer look away from your every move. She is extremely passionate about you. She is shy by nature and has gradually changed her personality for you. Don't you think you should respond? Her feelings. Nan Xiangxi looked at the data in front of him and couldn't help but make a surprised sound. Yes, he had to be surprised. Because whether it is in terms of basic attributes, specialties, or system evaluation, Goto Ichiri has basically undergone earth-shaking changes. The first is the academic value. Here is the academic value. Goto Ichiri has changed from 3 academic points before to 4 academic points now. This column is not difficult to understand. After all, I also took tutoring for half a month in Nangxiang. Even a pig should have made some progress after being baptized in the past half month. As for the guitar, don't even think about it. Ichiri Goto has been working hard at guitar practice, so it's natural that her guitar skills are about to be upgraded to LV4, and the almost upgrade here is probably still a long way away. Gotta go. But there are other changes that Nangxiang needs to think about. Goto Kazuri's appearance value is about to change from 8 to 9, and his inferiority complex is about to change from LV3 to LV2. What is this scenario? You must know that Goto Kazuri is still the same Goto Kazuri in his eyes when he was in Nangxiang. It's not that because this period of time has passed, my breasts have become bigger, my legs have become longer, and my butt has become more upturned. But the appearance value has been slightly improved, it will soon rise to 9. Although it was just his guess. But Nangxiang felt it? Probably because Goto Ichisato is very beautiful. However, her exaggerated low self-esteem and social fear have become factors that lower her appearance. Recently, Goto Ichiri's inferiority complex has gradually weakened. This gives positive feedback to her appearance value to a certain extent. In other words, a person's temperament has changed, and it feels like the whole person's mental outlook has changed. It's just that there is a bracket after the inferiority level, it's 2. Nangxiang she couldn't help but shook his head. You must know that it is normal for your evil simulator to only rise but not fall. Unexpectedly, MS Goto became the first person to break this norm. But that's right, inferiority complex is a personality trait that is mostly acquired, and it is natural for it to be reduced. Nangxiang withdrew his eyes from the data detector, feeling that although Goto Ichiri was timid, he was indeed able to interact with his eyes head-on. What a rare improvement, Miss Goto. Moreover, MS Goto can lower her own inferiority level. Then think about it conversely, can your own narcissism level be lowered? After all, it's something even MS Goto can do. There's no way he can't do it, right? Thinking like this, Nangxiang heard the system prompt sound coming from his ears. Your specialty narcissism has increased slightly, and your current level is LV4. Nangxiang ignored this prompt, stretched, and turned to look at Yamada Ryo on the other side. MS Goto's recent changes have been quite dramatic, and they are basically all changes for the better. So let's look at it the other way around, what's going on with Miss Yamada? The day before yesterday, this person came directly to his home at night. Nangxiang felt a little curious and took a data detector at Ryo Yamada, who looked drowsy next to him after finishing the test. The light blue page unfolded again under his gaze. Name, Ryo Yamada. Appearance, 8, Sports, 5, Academic Ability, 6, Specialties, Narcissism LV4, Learning LV2, 3, Base LV2, 3. Current impression of the host: extreme curiosity, deep attraction, possessiveness. System evaluation: she is deeply attracted to you and very curious about you as a person. She thinks every move you make is so interesting. It is so interesting that she wants to keep you to herself. In the past, you might have needed you to chase her. The pursuit of fighting is different now. Unknowingly, you have become the prey. Ah! Nangxiang she couldn't help but take another look at Miss Yamada's outrageous systematic review. What does "you have become prey" mean? Did you make a mistake in the evil simulator? I am a boy and she is a girl. How come I am a vulnerable group when I come to you? I don't want to lose face. Nan Xiangshi's mouth twitched as he looked at these lines of words. Then he couldn't help but glance at Miss Yamada, who was fishing in the sea of sleep, little by little. He finally confirmed that there was something wrong with the evil simulator. After all, just looking at Miss Yamada's silly look, Nangxiang never imagined that he would fall prey in front of this person. He shook his head, and then looked at the changes in Yamada Ryo's basic data indifferently. Academic ability and learning have not changed much. Only for base skills, I am about to upgrade from LV2 to LV3. It seems that Ms. Yamada has practiced enough during this period. We are almost catching up with Goto Ichiri. Nangxiang she originally wanted to take a look at Yi Dizhi Hongxia's status changes. But after thinking about it, I still chose to give up. No way. After personally simulating it, he can now be said to be very poor. Over the past few days, the heartbeat value of communicating with the girls has only accumulated about 300 to 400. It can be used up directly in one simulation. Simulate it yourself and harm me. Nangxiang sighed. I really don't know why he was so dizzy at that time, but suddenly he wanted to simulate it himself. Now it seems that the time I personally imitated Ms. Yamada was a huge loss. Here he makes an exclamation. On the other side, the door to the lounge was pushed open without hesitation. At the same time, a mature and delicate face poked its head in from outside the door. Elder sister. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Uda Wei. Chapter 199. Yi Jihongxia stood up and took the initiative to say hello to Yi Jixing outside the door. Ah, they're all here, right? Yi Jixing glanced inside, and then locked his eyes on Nan Xiangxi. Nangxiang, this guy, and the Pa have something to discuss with you. As Ichi Hoshige said, he dragged out the drunk Hiroikairi behind him. Hiroikairi still smelled of alcohol as always, and she was so drunk that she was mumbling all kinds of words that others couldn't understand. This made Nangxiang she couldn't help but glance at her, and then spoke subconsciously. What's the matter with you? Store manager. Again. Itakazinga glanced at Nangxiang strangely. Are you, OKG, very busy these 2 days? Strictly speaking, it's really busy. Nangxiang she couldn't help but nodded. Incredible World 3429674665. The morning itinerary alone can be said to be full. From 6:30 in the morning to noon, and then in the afternoon, he had a premonition. One day tomorrow. He rarely gets time out. Really? If you're really busy, forget it. Yi Dizhi was also very open-minded. He looked embarrassed when he saw Nangxiang, and did not make things difficult for him. He just explained casually. This guy, Pa, and I are also going to visit the Oka festival tomorrow, and I thought it would be great if someone could guide us. The ending band will perform at the Oka festival tomorrow, and as the adult group of older sisters, they certainly can't miss it. It's no problem if you just lead the way. Listening to Yudi's Hixinge's words, Nangxiang thought for a while and finally nodded. After all, he won't be the only one busy tomorrow. After finishing the band, he also had to prepare for the Oka festival rehearsal. As long as he took these adult groups to the gymnasium, the task would be completed. This is certainly not a big deal. Only, before you go to our school, store manager, I think you should pay attention to the person next to you. Nangxiang pointed his finger unceremoniously at Hiroikiri's face, which had collapsed into a puddle of mud. After all, Oka High School is considered a relatively famous high school in Tokyo. If this Jumenzi comes in so drunk tomorrow, I'm afraid he will be kicked out by the life guidance teacher in the school before the performance starts. I will help take care of it then. Miss Pa covered her mouth with her palms in an educated manner and smiled, then I will contact Nangxiang brother directly by phone. Ken. Nangxiang she nodded simply. Just follow this arrangement. He is already busy enough anyway, no matter how busy he is, that's all. After confirming the contact information with Hoshijiji and other adult groups, and agreeing with Ikuyo Kita and others on the meeting place at 6:30 tomorrow morning, Nangxiang Shi dragged his body after a tiring day and walked in the direction of his home. Now he just hopes that nothing unexpected will happen when the Oka festival starts tomorrow. Only, it was a place in Tokyo that I didn't know about when I was in Nango. This conversation happened. Shiho, is it really okay for us to come here a day early? Somewhat soft voice. Of course it's no problem. We also remember the address of that guy's rental house. Don't forget, Sister Bao, the main purpose of our coming here this time. A somewhat straightforward and cheerful voice. One is to give Ashi clothes for the upcoming winter, and the other is to pay attention to Ashi's living conditions, right? It's not just that. You also need to pay close attention to that boy's private life. For example, if he has a girlfriend or something, let's not expose him tomorrow. Maybe that boy can give me a surprise. Hopefully. This was Nangxiang Yubeo's somewhat worried voice. Chapter 163. Nangxiang will not be tempted by anyone. 4100. At 5:50 the next day, Nangxiang Shi woke up from his sleep. After briefly checking the time, he yawned, got up and ran. It's 5:50 in autumn in Tokyo, and the sky is still dark. While enjoying the rare silence in Nangxiang, I jogged along the streets. Your exercise value has increased, and the current value is 7. Very good. When I returned home to Nangxiang, I noticed the reminder that my exercise value had increased, and nodded with satisfaction. He has been jogging for 2 months. Although no change seems to be seen from the numerical aspects of the simulator. But Nangxiang could clearly feel that his physical fitness was much stronger than before. After all, I was usually the first to die in simulations before, either because my body was overworked or my body was already weak. Now it's completely different from before. I can occasionally survive the simulation object once or twice. This is enough to show that his body is indeed getting better. Nangxiang Shi glanced sideways at himself in the mirror while sipping milk. Scan the time simultaneously. That's almost it. After checking the time, Nangxiang Shi took his wallet and headed towards the Stars Performance Hall. But Nango didn't notice it when he rushed to the Stars Exhibition Hall to help Ichiri Goto and Ikuyo Kita. In a corner of the street that he ignored, 2 figures peeked out furtively. What is that boy going to do? The woman with short hair and baby fat stared at Nangxiang's leaving figure with a somewhat uncomprehending expression. Sister Ariho, isn't that the direction of Oka High School? And it's only 6:15 now, right? I'm not sure. Next to her, the weak woman with long hair was also a little strange. Could it be that you go to school with your girlfriend? Nango Shiho was the first to come up with his own idea. How could it be, that well-behaved and smart Ashi? Listening to his sister's words, Nangxiang Yubeo frowned sadly and couldn't help but say, and it's only been a year. Yes. It's only been a year. During my last winter vacation in Nangxiang, I didn't even mention that I had a girlfriend. Why do you suddenly have a girlfriend? For Nangxiang Yubeo, who is somewhat conservative in thinking, The question of whether her brother has a girlfriend really makes her worried and a little happy at the same time. I'm happy that my younger brother can actually find a girlfriend in Tokyo. What I'm worried about is whether my younger brother's shy and sweet character will be disliked by the pink-haired girl in the future. That's what Tokyo is like. Compared to Nango Yoho, Nango Shiho on one side seems much more open-minded. She often watches various TV dramas on TV, especially those that depict love in Tokyo. So when it came to the fact that her brother might have dug up cabbage, she only thought, this boy is really capable. The two stood there and discussed for a while, then followed Nan Xiangshi's back. Meanwhile, on the other side. Because you were afraid of troublesome me, Kida-san just called her friends and moved all the equipment and stuff away. Listening to Goto Ichiri's words, Nang Xiang felt a little strange when he deliberately got up early and rushed over. Yes, Kida-san called many friends over temporarily and quickly moved all the equipment needed for the performance. That's right. Nang Xiang glanced at Goto Kazuri, whose eyes were hidden under the two long bangs and who was stammering when he spoke, and felt a little strange in his heart. Since Kida Ikuyo decided to call his friends to help at the last moment, shouldn't we call him directly so that he doesn't have to come so early? It's a little weird, like it's intentional. But Nang Xiangshi did not continue to ask. He just glanced at Goto Ichiri and took the initiative to invite him. Anyway, I have already gone out. Do you want to go to school together? It's too late to go home now. It would be better to invite Ichiri Goto to go to school with him. There are a lot of things to be busy with at school anyway. He took the initiative to invite me to go to school together. On the other side, Goto Kazuri was extremely grateful for Kida Ikuyo's silent dedication. Hi God, I will definitely not disappoint your expectations. With his hands clasped together in his heart, Goto Kazuri thanked Kitagama for his dedication and nodded without hesitation. Yeah. Let's go to school together, Toki. She mustered up the courage and called out the nickname of Nang Xiang that only she could call. In response to this, Nang Xiangshi also smiled and reached out to touch her head. Well, let's go together, Ili. Walking out of the Stars Performance Hall in the early morning, Goto Ichiri looked at Nango's side face next to him and listened to him telling some interesting jokes from time to time. And I also worked hard to continue his topic. Just keep this simple pace. It seems that Goto Iri is completely satisfied. I also discovered it when I was in Nangxiang. Ichisato Goto today. She seems to be much more proactive than usual. Although he was very awkward, he took the initiative to talk to him. Although his voice was a bit shaky, his tone was very clear. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 200. Even when Nan Xiangshi walked forward, she reached out her hand and gently pinched the corner of Nan Xiangshi's sleeve. If this were done before, Nang Xiangshi probably felt that Goto Kazuri was entangled with something dirty, causing his consciousness to become a little unclear. But now, the inferiority level is about to be lowered by one level. Will the impact be so great? Looking at Goto Kazuri with a blushing face. Although Nang Xiangshi was a little surprised, he did not alarm the girl who had finally worked up the courage. Her courage is so weak now, like the flame of a candle, as if there is any disturbance, it will be extinguished in the next second. So Nang Xiangshi decided to keep watch. Look at this small cluster of flames to see if they can go up, and become more dazzling. Nango didn't realize it when he focused his attention on Goto Kazuri. Just behind a telephone pole not far from the two of them, Nango Shiho and Nango Yoho were watching all this happen without blinking. Actually really. After making a surprised sound, Nango Yubo looked at the girl with long pink hair who was following Nang Xiang and tugging at the corner of his clothes, with a shy expression, and opened her mouth in disbelief. Nang Xiang, she actually did what his second sister said. Found a girlfriend? Although the distance is quite far, and the other person's bangs are a bit too long, it is difficult to see the other person's appearance clearly. But Nang Xiang Yubeo, who is also a woman, can clearly detect it. The face hidden under the pink-haired girl's bangs is definitely not too ugly. Coupled with the loose pink sportswear, you can vaguely see the curves of your body. No need to think about it. When she grows up in the future, the other person will definitely be a rare beauty. It's just that his personality is a bit too timid. Several times, Nango Yuho saw Goto Ichiri extending his small hand towards Nango's, but in the end he retracted it as if he was electrocuted. That cute appearance made Nang Xiang Yubeo anxious for her. You're really capable, that boy. As a woman, Nango Shiho couldn't take her eyes away when she stared at Goto Ichiri's shy and cute appearance. Especially the opponent's softness and weakness, as if anyone can bully him. This gives people an even greater desire to protect. She couldn't help but say, it's only been a while, and this guy has already found a girlfriend in Tokyo. If you give him a little more time. What if you give him a little more time? After hearing this, Nang Xiang Yubeo turned his gaze sideways. Hee, maybe this kid can really find 2, 3, 4, or 5 girlfriends. Nango Shiho smiled like hee. How can it be? Nango Yuho frowned. Shiho, you should watch less of those messy love shows in the future, and you still find 1, 2, or 3 girlfriends. How could such a thing happen? When it comes to 1, 2, 3. Nang Xiang Yubeo, who was relatively conservative and strong by nature, had a blush on his pretty and delicate face. The impact of these unspeakable words was too great for her. Oh, I'm just saying it casually. Sister, don't take it so seriously. Of course Nango Shiho knew that this was unlikely, and at most it was a plot only found in TV dramas. She was just joking. The two people chatted in silence for a long time. Then I saw Nang Xiang walking further and further away. They then continued to follow. Because of the Oka festival. It was only 7 o'clock in the morning, and there were already various voices in front of the gate of Oka High School. Some were student council members decorating the school gates and putting up decorations. Some took out their mobile phones and stood at the door, contacting the replenishing team members. There were also some miscellaneous sounds of conversations with friends. Anyway, just early in the morning, the whole Oka High School started to look noisy. Because Goto Kazuri was selected for the maid cafe event in his class. So as soon as she arrived at Oka High School, she was called away by her classmates. Before leaving, she did not forget to give Nang Xiang the coupon for the omelette rice in her class. This is also a benefit for female students who play the role of maids. After all, if nothing is given, who is willing to go through hardships and put on costumes similar to cosplay to help work? Ili's maid outfit. Nang Xiangxi glanced at the handwritten coupon in his hand and raised his eyebrows. To be honest, he had only seen Goto Kazuri in sportswear. He was really curious about what Kazuri Goto would look like after putting on a maid outfit. It should look good. Putting the coupon into his wallet, Nang Xiangxi took another look at the time. It's 7:13 in the morning. There are still nearly 50 minutes left before helping Akane Shinjo move the equipment. Although it's a bit early to arrive 50 minutes in advance, but I think it's better to prepare the equipment as early as possible. Nang Xiang put down his cell phone thoughtfully, and then walked into Oka High School. Although the Oka festival has not started yet. But there were obvious signs of the induction cooker being fired in Oka High School. There are several classes of restaurants that have begun to smell good. This is also normal. After all, you have to try the induction cooker to see if it works before you officially start operations. I felt a little hungry when I was in Nangxiang. After all, when he got up early this morning, he just bought a rice ball at a convenience store to fill his stomach. After we finish moving the equipment for the stage play, come over and have something to eat. Nang Xiangxi walked towards the activity department room with this thought in mind. The activity club room where Akane Shinjo is located is on the third floor of the club building, which takes about 5 or 6 minutes to walk from the main building of Oka High School. This did not take much time for Nang Xiangxi. Only. Has the stage equipment been moved? Nang Xiang frowned and looked at Akane Shinjo in front of him. Yes. Since Nang Xiang arrived early, Akane Shinjo had a slightly surprised look on her face. But she soon adjusted and put on her usual sunny smile. It seems that Rika, Hibiki-san, and Utsumi-san called their friends over yesterday to help me move the equipment needed for the stage play. At the gym. Ah. Are you also a friend who helped move? Nang Xiangxi didn't quite understand. Yes. The scene in front of me was very similar to what Ichiri Goto had seen just now. Also. Akane Shinjo glanced at Nangoshi slightly strangely. I said it casually. Nang Xiangxi covered it up casually, and then asked Akane Shinjo, since you have already taken care of it, why didn't you send me a message earlier? Well. Akane Shinjo pretended to think in a low voice, but deep down she was thinking about how to deal with the unexpected situation in front of her. Yes. She and Rika Takarada had actually already made arrangements. Just waiting for the Oka festival to start at 8 o'clock, Nang Xiang came over. Then she told Nang Xiang about not having to carry the equipment, and then the two of them naturally started to visit the Oka festival together, creating sweet memories that only belong to them in the Oka festival. According to this plan, Nang Xiang should step into the trap she planned like a prey. But the result? Even Akane Shinjo didn't think of it. This man in Nang Xiang, he actually came a full 40 minutes early. 40 minutes. There are still a full 40 minutes until the Oka festival begins. Akane Shinjo couldn't help but peek at Nang Xiang. This man is really disturbing in every sense of the word. Can't you just follow my plan and eventually become my boyfriend? Shinjo Akane was a little angry, but she didn't show it on the surface. She just maintained a perfect disguise and said with a smile. You have already gone back after cleaning up yesterday, and it was a bit unexpected to call you, so I planned to contact you today, but what I didn't expect was that you came earlier than I thought. Is it? Nangoshi glanced at Shinjo Akane suspiciously. Although this reason is tenable. But he always felt that Akane Shinjo was the same as Kazuri Goto today. There always seems to be a sense of something else. No. It even feels like more than just Akane Shinjo. Nang Xiang felt that Nishiki Kishu and the others were in a similar situation. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 201. He always felt as if they were secretly planning something behind his back. This is not an illusion no matter how you think about it. Nan Xiangxi secretly increased his vigilance and decided to ignore all subsequent temptations. Because only in this way will he not be fooled. He made up his mind and was about to say goodbye. Speaking of which, Toki-kun, I haven't had breakfast yet. When I was passing by, I saw a fried noodle shop that seemed to be open. I'm treating you to it. Let's go over and have something to eat. Good. Chapter 164. 1, 2, and 3 girlfriends, 4,200 words. No one can resist the temptation of a free breakfast, including Nang Xiangxi. Not to mention that Nan Xiang was already a little hungry after getting up early for a run, so he only drank a glass of milk and ate a rice ball. After all, he was not one of those male protagonists in Japanese comics or Japanese light novels. He usually ate bread and sucked jelly. It's ready for brunch. Therefore, if Miss Shinjo was willing to treat her to dinner, he certainly had no reason to refuse. It's just different from what Miss Shinjo said. They first went to the second grade to eat fried noodles, and then went to one store after another. During this period, Miss Shinjo basically paid for him without batting an eye. Even Nangashi had to lament Shinjo Akane's financial resources at this moment. Even if the asking price is generally not high, a snack shop charges 500 to 600 yen, but if you visit 5 or 6 shops, the accumulated number is quite a lot. Incredible World 3429674665. One person spent nearly 3,000 yen in Konongo, and Akane Shinjo herself was also spending, so the total for the two of them was estimated to be 6,000 to 7,000 yen. 6 to 7,000 yen, which is definitely a huge amount of money for ordinary high school students. Even in restaurants outside, you can get good set meals. In some Japanese restaurants, 1 or 2,000 yen for a set meal is enough to make a very good meal. But Miss Shinjo didn't care at all, and handed over the money generously without even blinking. The wallet in her pocket was like a bottomless pit, with countless 10,000 yuan bills. This is completely different from a certain lady named Yamada who would dig wild vegetables from time to time, described in the original comic, to eat. They are also the eldest lady, and their family backgrounds are also similar. Why is there such a huge gap in terms of money? And the most important thing is that although Ms. Shinjo ordered snacks from every store, she didn't finish everything. Just like now. Shijun, help me solve this problem. Shinjo Akane wiped her lips, which were glossy and pink, while passing over half of the fried noodles and sizzling hot dogs in her hands. Here we go again. Nangxiang frowned. He has already helped Miss Shinjo with too many things that she can't finish. Even though Nangxiang didn't eat much breakfast at first, I was a little hungry. But with Miss Shinjo feeding him so unscrupulously, he still managed to hold on a little. Aren't you hungry? Isn't this something that boys can just deal with? This thing. Nangxiang Shi deliberately emphasized the pronunciation of this point. Shinjo, this point you are talking about refers to 2 sushi rolls, 1.5 rice balls, 10 takoyaki, plus the current bowl and a half chow mein noodles and a sizzling hot dog. What can I do? It doesn't taste good. In response to Nango Toki's words, Shinjo Akane, who had her hands behind her back and leaned forward, responded very simply. Yes, it's not delicious. This is indeed true. Japanese high school festival snacks have always had a common problem, that is, the food is basically not particularly delicious. After all, they are made by students, and they are basically packaged cheap instant foods that can be eaten as long as they are heated. In this case, can we still expect these things to taste delicious? Just thinking about it seems impossible. Just like the data seen in Nangxiang's eyes. 1.1 points, a plate of instant fried noodles that is poorly shaped and a little too dry. 0.9 points, the ingredients are not enough, the taste is bad, and the sauce is too sweet. Just from these data, we can see that the things produced by these students are indeed not very good. But if you can't finish it, don't order it. Nangxiang glanced sideways at Akane Shinjo. Why do you have to eat so much if you can't eat it all? I can't help it, I'm hungry too. Akane Shinjo shrugged innocently. Under her actions, Nangxiang Shi couldn't help but sigh. But in the end, he picked up the chopsticks and finished the remaining fried noodles and hot dogs in front of Akane Shinjo. 1.5 points, a plate of instant fried noodles that is poorly shaped, a little too dry, and smells like a pretty girl. 1.3 points, a hot dog bitten by a beautiful girl is very attractive to some people. This evil simulator is still as evil as ever. Can the rating of a beautiful girl be improved just because of what she has eaten? Your rating is too lax, isn't it? Who likes to eat other people's leftovers? He thought about it and slowly put the fried noodles into his mouth. There was something unhurried about the way he ate, and he looked particularly well educated. And watching Nang Xiang finish the fried noodles and hot dogs bit by bit, the way his throat squirmed, the smile hanging on the corner of Akane Shinjo's mouth became even stronger. Her crimson eyes stared at Nan Xiangshi's lips. The little person in my heart is also jumping lively at this moment. Good. Shijun and I kissed indirectly again. Shinjo Akane was very satisfied. Counting the previous sushi rolls, rice balls, and takoyaki. When we were in Nangxiang, we had kissed her indirectly 5 times. 5 times. 5 times exactly. What progress! It can be said that Shinjo Akane was completely satisfied this morning. As the only woman who had an indirect sexual kiss experience with Nangxiang, and the only woman who had ever stayed at Nangxiang's house. Even if there really is such a thing as a love rival, with such a terrifying process, it should be no match for Akane Shinjo, right? From this point of view, it was just a matter of time before Nangxiangshi agreed to be her boyfriend. Shinjo Akane's mood jumped at this time, comfortable and happy. From her point of view, everything in front of her was going smoothly as planned. Only. Just when Akane Shinjo was happy, Nangxiangshi suddenly spoke. In order to prevent you from misunderstanding, Shinjo, I have to say that just eating the leftover food does not count as indirect kissing. Nangxiangshi took out the tissue next to him, wiped his mouth, and said calmly, if that's the case, then if we breathe the same air with so many people, wouldn't it be considered an indirect kiss? Have you been seen through? No. No matter what, you still have to follow his words at this time. Akane Shinjo raised her slender eyebrows. There was no change in expression. Akane Shinjo's face still had a narrow and evil smile. How is it possible, Nangxiang, no matter what, it is impossible to think that it is an indirect kiss just because of this kind of thing, right? There was something crisp and convincing about her voice. But in my heart, I have completely different feelings. Hateful. This man. Just wait. When you really become my boyfriend, I will kiss you 3 times a day. No, 3 times is still too few, 5 times. Kiss you 5 times a day. Let's see if you'll say something like this again. I will also punish you by only using my money and eating my food, so that you will completely lose your ability to work and move. Shinjo Akane recalled the memories in her mind, gnashing her teeth and thinking in her heart. But at best she could only think about it. It would be too arrogant to think about life after marriage before the young man in front of him has completely conquered his heart. With this in mind, she approached Nangxiangshi again. And at the same time, on the other side. Otherwise, let's forget it, Shiho. Nango Yoho pulled Nango Shiho in front of the ramen and said in a low voice, let's go back to the hotel and wait. Next is Toki's own relaxation time for the Oka festival. We have already waited until 8 o'clock, and now we are saying that we want to go back. If it doesn't work, please go back to the hotel by yourself, Sister Bao. You have the room card with you anyway. Nango Shiho was a little unhappy. Yes. After entering Oka High School in Nangxiang, the two of them waited outside from about 7 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock now. We have all waited until this point. As a result, my sister suddenly backed down at this most critical period. Of course Nango Shiho was not happy. Mainly, there's nothing to see at the high school festival. Standing outside the school gate, Nangxiang Yubo, who has long black hair, muttered. Like Nangxiang, her appearance is also very good. The soft eyebrows and long black hair give people an indescribable intellectual beauty. Coupled with the short hair on one side, Nango Shiho looks equally delicate and good-looking. Many Oka High School students nearby couldn't take their eyes away, and they all talked about which school they were from. However, Nangxiang Yubeo did not notice this. She just continued.